Hey guys, welcome back to the Silver Motion. Road to Halloween has begun. Today we are about 46 days away from Halloween at the time of this recording, and I've already been watching a lot of scary movies. I'll keep it straight into the point. Today we're going to be talking about 10 horror movies. There's no specific order. There's no, the only order is the order in which I watched these movies. The first movie is called Follow Me, and it's also known as No Escape. Follow Me is about a social media influencer who takes a trip to Russia to escape room with a few friends, but the game takes a dark turn when they realize this is far from your typical escape room. This is a cool mix of, standard movie and found footage, and it is very fun and entertaining with a cool touch of suspense. I bought it on YouTube because sometimes buying the movie is a better deal than renting it, and I forgot I had it. And I remembered it as your typical disposable horror movie, but hey, I actually had a great time watching it a second time. It does a great job building tension, bringing us the audience from a very happy and safe place to
we need to get the hell out of here.
This is definitely one of those movies that will have you screaming at the screen.
Don't touch that.
Now keep in mind that my ratings are always just about the movie that I'm watching, so it's for what it could have been. So I think this movie has 7.5 out of 10 for what it could have been. Now before we get to number 2, I'd like to say something. Some of these movies are solid, some are great, and some I watched so you don't have to. The next one is the latter, and it's called Prom Night. Prom Night is a light horror thriller where a group of high school students faces a night of terror when a dangerous killer from the past haunts them during their prom night. You ever find yourself not knowing what to watch, and the first thing you come across on Netflix, you go and I'll just play this. This is it. And the whole movie feels like like an episode of a TV show, or I don't know. Idris Elba is here, so that's good. Other than that, this is an extremely forgettable movie. We pretty much played it as a background flick while getting some other shit done. And we still paid attention to it here and there to see what happens and how the material was delivered. If it would have been solid, I know it would have taken over our full attention, but it never did. Side note, is everyone in this movie fucking rich or what? Their prom night was more luxurious than most weddings I've been to. I'm just saying, the hotel room these teenagers go to, it's like the suite that they get at the Caesar Palace in The Hangover. If you're looking for a 100% disposable horror movie to play in the background while you're shaving your legs or something like that, this is it. Initially, I wanted to be like, it's a 3 out of 10 or something like that, but you know what, this is a 1 out of 10, it sucked. I don't want to be afraid of saying a movie sucked, and this movie fucking sucked. On number 3, things get much better with Green Room. Green Room is a very intense thriller that follows a punk rock band who finds themselves trapped in the green room of a remote club after witnessing a murder. With a group of neo-Nazis closing in on them, the band must fight for their lives as they try to escape this deadly situation. Now, this is definitely a big step up from our last entry, guys. Green Room not only delivers on the original script, but the tension level in this film is top-notch. I heard of this movie when it came out, but I never had a chance to watch it, and I finally did. Some of the actors I didn't expect to be part of this movie are here, and they, along with the entire supporting cast, totally did an amazing job. Warning, I wouldn't consider this a spoiler, okay? But I gotta let you know that there's a moment in this movie in which things go from dark to holy shit. Tension goes from 10 to 11, and believe me when I say that the difference from 10 to 11 can be vast. This is a solid horror movie, and it definitely has its share of graphic shit, So if you're not into gore, I'd get my stomach ready to watch this one. And yeah, I'm not afraid to say that Green Room is a 9 out of 10 for what it could have been. Number 4, Child's Play. Child's Play is about a kid named Andy who gets a doll named Woody. Sorry, wrong movie. The name of the doll is Chucky. But here's the twist. Chucky's not your typical doll. He's got the soul of a vengeful serial killer inside. I'll just go ahead and say that the fear from when you are a kid and you know about this movie and Chucky himself, but you haven't watched it yet, is even greater than the fear when you finally watch the movie. I mean, the idea of the movie as a kid is way scarier than the actual movie. I will never forget the moment they realized the doll has no freaking batteries in it. And oh man, the tug and roll, so freaking creepy. I do feel this is one of those movies that suffers from what I call the Six Flags effect. To put it in simple terms, your expectations are always better than the actual experience. Yeah, this is a classic, and while the idea is a 10 out of 10, the movie itself, for me, it's a 7 out of 10. And of course, after watching the first one, I had to watch the second one. So the next movie on the list is Child's Play 2. After the events of the first film, Chucky returns to terrorize Andy once again. And Chucky, well, he's still pretty demonic. He's still trying to kill this kid. So, yeah, his deadly antics continue. As always, I'll be honest here with you guys. I've always liked this one better than the first one. I remember going to the video store and as a kid, you know, like holding the cover of this freaking movie, and it would just haunt me in my dreams. I feel that aside from some campy moments that don't truly land for me, I always have a much better time with this sequel. I also love that the doll is scarier and that they introduce more body horror elements. And this one gets a 7.5 out of 10. On number 6, we have Scream. Scream follows a series of gruesome murders in a small town. A high school student named Sidney Prescott, or should I say Sidney Prescott, becomes the target of a mysterious killer named Ghostface. As the body count rises, Sidney and her friends must uncover the identity of the masked murderer before they become the next victims. I probably delivered that like shit. It's staying. Now, I've watched this movie so many freaking times, I'll be honest with you guys. The idea of watching it again, it almost felt like a task. But once the movie started with that intro, I was sold again. Another thing to add, the Silver Motion Jr. has finally reached that age in which he can watch horror movies with us, you know, at this level. Don't call CPS yet, trust me. I'm not watching freaking Cannibal Holocaust or some full-blown disturbing film with him. But I can say that this is, you know, one of those Road to Halloween movies in which he can participate, and it was just awesome to watch it through his eyes. At the end of the day, I feel Scream is one of Wes Craven's best, and I also feel like it often doesn't get the praise that it deserves as a film because of how extremely popular it got, and, you know, all the parodies and all the, you know, it just got a little bit out of hand, but as a movie, it's pretty solid, man. 9.5 out of 10 for what it could have been. And in a similar fashion as with Child's Play, you know, you watch the first one and you're like, now I have to watch the second one. So next on the list, on number 7, we have Scream 2. Alright, in Scream 2, Sydney now is a college student, and she finds herself once again targeted by a new Ghostface killer, and this one is a copycat terrorizing the campus. In this movie, I don't know, I mean, with the return of familiar faces and new mysteries, the film explores the chilling legacy of the Ghostface killer. Now, I love the fact that this manages to hold its own with the intro of the first movie. So, you know, I'm just trying to say that the intro from this movie is almost as good, if not even better than the intro for the first movie. Also, just like the first movie, This film is extremely self-aware and it isn't afraid of making fun of itself. I truly love the discussion they have about sequels.
Sequels suck. No, come on, man. Oh, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
It's bullshit generalization. Many sequels have surpassed their original.
Oh, yeah?
And as far as sequels go, this is definitely a solid follow-up to the first one. I'm not gonna say that this one is better than the first one. I do have to point out that I dig the twist a bit more than the first one, and I feel that the tension level, especially a certain scene, reached heights never reached by the first movie. Overall, a more than solid sequel, and this gets an 8.5 out of 10 for what it could have been. Now, number 8, we have Priest. Priest is a post-apocalyptic action horror film set in a world where humans and vampires have been in a long-lasting war. A former priest, played by Paul Bettany, is called back into action to rescue his niece, who has been kidnapped by vampires. He embarks on a dangerous journey, battling both vampires and a corrupt human regime, to save her and potentially change the course of the war. Now, Priest is one of those movies that starts really good and it just unfortunately loses steam as the movie moves along through its runtime. At the beginning, it feels like an action horror version of Blade Runner, but then it starts to get pretty generic with bland dialogue and one-liners that they just don't land. Also, I feel this guy was totally miscast, and a different actor could have elevated the movie to the next level. Overall, I feel like this is one of those movies that I would have had a great time watching it if I was like 11 or 12 years old, you know? But I mean, overall, it could have been way worse, so I'm still going to give it a 5.5 out of 10 for what it could have been. Now, number 9, we have The Faculty. Did I pronounce that correctly? Faculty? Faculto! Faculty is a sci-fi horror film set in high school where a group of students discovers that their teachers are being taken over by some form of alien. As they discover the sinister plot, they must band together to stop the alien invasion from spreading and save their school and, ultimately the world. Talk about a movie with familiar faces on it. Oh boy. Elijah Wood. We have Josh Hartnett, we have Jordana Brewster, we have freaking Usher, I mean, I can keep going, Salma Hayek, the entire cast is, very, very recognizable. Robert Patrick's here, we even have Jon Stewart in the freaking movie, what else can we ask for? This one is just a good time all the way through, and I think it often gets overlooked since many other movies came out around the same time with a similar feel. The high school, college horror movie style. This movie reminds me of The Thing. They even have that moment in which they have to test who is the thing and who isn't. The cast is great, and it makes what could have been a blah movie into something very exciting and fun. And this is exactly the type of horror movie for those moments on a Saturday night when you wonder, man, what can I watch? I just want to watch a cool horror movie and eat some popcorn. Look no further. The Faculty is that movie. The Faculty, in my opinion, it's an 8.5 out of 10 for what it could have been, without a doubt. Every time I watch it, I have a great time with it. On number 10, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street? Guys, do I really have to tell you what this movie's about? I'll keep it short. Freddy fucking Krueger. He's got cool gloves and kills you while you sleep. Is it too much to ask to just be left alone while we try to sleep? Like fuck you, Freddy. This movie has it all, and it will forever be regarded as one of, if not the greatest horror movie ever made. I know a lot of people think of this movie as the greatest of all time when it comes to horror. That is not my personal opinion, but it's definitely one of the greatest. Not only is the core idea of the film perfection when it comes to the concept of what a solid horror movie should be, the execution of that idea especially when you keep in mind that this was made back in 1984. Let that sink in, guys. This movie's almost 40 years old, and I'll go ahead and say that all of the effects still hold up. It is terrifying and disgusting to watch. The whole atmosphere is extremely dark, but director Wes Craven still manages to deliver some of the most disturbing scenes and imagery during the daytime. All of that topped with the iconic performance by Robert Englund, which is just, it's incredible, man. It's so freaking, and I feel like on the first movie, he didn't even have it developed, you know, like he gets to develop the character way more later. That, and the unforgettable musical score by Charles Bernstein, and you got a must watch for any horror movie fans. As a matter of fact, I'd be shocked if anybody's watching this video and you still haven't watched A Nightmare on Elm Street. I will be like shocked. If you haven't, please let me know in the comments. Just be like, hey, I've never watched it. You know, I'm that guy. It's definitely one of those movies that I find myself watching a couple of times a year, and it gets a 10 out of 10 for what it could have been. Alright guys, this is the Silver Motion. Thanks again for your support. I really appreciate it. I love this time of the year, and I just love watching scary movies. Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, guys, thank you so much. I will see you on the next one.